Well, ladies and gentlemen, so welcome to our Scorpio Navamsha video. And this week, we're going to be covering what happens when you have a Scorpio sign rising in your Navamsha chart. So in Vedic Astrology, Navamsha is one of the most important charts. It's studied right next to the birth chart. It shows the strength of your planets. It shows your inner qualities. It shows your behavior in the marriage, your luck through marriage, your spiritual progress through marriage, your spiritual progress in the second half of life, your kind of like life in the second half of life. And this is, especially for me, it's one of the most important charts. And so what happens when, you have a Scorpio rising in that particular chart? And if you do not know, if you have a Scorpio rising in your Navamsha, what sign is rising in your Navamsha, all the other astrological details for that, check out the links here. And check out my full astrological report, including my books, Astrology, Conjunction, and Aspects, and Mahadashas at the Speed of Light, including all my consultations at this link. So you have a Scorpio rising. That means you have fire, air, or water signs in your birth chart as a rising sign. So what do I mean by this? So if you have, let's say, a fire sign rising like Aries, Leo, Sagittarius in your birth chart. You have, let's say, a Gemini, Aquarius, and Libra sign rising in your birth chart. Or you have Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces rising in your birth chart. At certain degree, at certain fourth pada of your nakshatra of the rising sign, it can land you into Scorpio Navamsha. So you don't have to worry about all of this. All you have to do is once you get the report, you'll see, okay, I'm a Aries ascendant in the birth chart, and I'm a Scorpio Navamsha. That's it. You don't need to worry about how is it being calculated. Software does that for you. So all those people who do not want to know the actual inner workings of it, don't worry about it. So you got a Scorpio Navamsha. So what's happening is fire turns into deep waters. Fire turns into this still water, not moving water. So Scorpio, see, Pisces actually represents the deep sea, deep sea. Cancer represents a river. Scorpio represents a lake, but a deep lake. And what happens when lake is deep and still? If water is not moving, it may get, what do you call, planktons created. It may have fungus being created. So Scorpio it's a water sign, but it's that water sign that can either show cleanliness, because let's say if the lake is not being touched by humans, it's not being touched by too many animals. Like let's say if you go to the northern side of the earth, like in Alaska, and they have, let's say, just a lake by itself. It's not connected to a river or to a sea. It's still a very clean water lake because everything is clean. Not too many animals are up there. But if the lake is, let's say here in DC, it's going to be full of dirt. Unless the water is being filtered, it's going to be just dirt, mess, it's going to be full of fungus and whatnot. That's what Scorpio represents. So Scorpio represents both sides of the transformation. It can represent a great transformation, or it can represent a bad transformation, depending upon how is it that the planets are placed in your Scorpio Navamsha, or even in your birth chart if you're a Scorpio ascendant. And at the same time, you have to see where the Scorpio lords are placed, which is Mars and Ketu, which represents co-ruler of Scorpio. We got to see where they're placed. Depending upon that, we can see what kind of a transformation that the person will face. So when you go from fire to water of Scorpio, okay, one goes from being very inspired, being a leader, being very aggressive and adventurous, to wanting to deal with the deep-rooted issues after marriage or after the second half of life. Suddenly you feel like, oh my God, this happened in my life, and why did it happen? So what happens is certain people tend to deal with their psychological issues early in life. Some people see that, oh my God, I'm getting these psychological patterns now in my life because I dealt with this early in my life. I'm becoming more angry, or I'm becoming more depressed, or I'm becoming, let's say, even more sexual. Why? Because maybe my sexuality was suppressed when I was young. Like, especially in Indian culture, even now, even 30-year-olds have a very suppressed sexual, energy, because they grow up in a family environment where sex is never discussed. There are some, I'm telling you right now, some 35-year-old, 30-year-olds, 25-year-olds don't even know how to have sex. Those things are suppressed. So what it can do as a Scorpio Navamsha, it can really make a person extremely sexual later in life. They're just like experimenting now. So from that fire of inspiration, that, okay, I'm inspired to do this, I'm a leader, I can, I'm here to learn, I'm here to experience life to the fullest, to suddenly now going deep within. Now, if you take it from air to water of Scorpio, and remember, this is different from water of Cancer or Pisces when we discussed that. So here, a person will go from wanting to communicate, wanting to know all the knowledge, wanting to connect with other people. Through that experience, they will go within themselves. They will see the hidden dirt within themselves. They will see the karmic hidden energies within themselves, or even their hidden power. So always understand the dynamic of Scorpio. It can go either this way or this way. So if this is a Scorpio sign, Scorpio is this one sign that can show, well, a transformation is taking you up, your stock is going up, or transformation is taking you down, the stock is going down. So that we study with really looking at the planets. Then you go from water to water. So you go from flowing water, the water is flowing, to becoming still. So here, a person, by dealing with their emotional connections and their ability to nourish things in their life, their ability to put their emotions on their sleeves, to really, whatever they have dealt with in their beginning of life, they now become very obsessed about those things. They become, psychologically transformed with those things. Whether it was dealing with the mother's love, whether it was dealing with the relative's love, whether it was being emotionally connected with their environment, which was suddenly transformed after marriage or in the second half of life. So even if you're single, it's still going to do that, because you still have a Scorpio rising in the Navamsha. So whether, and then if you go from, deep waters to deep waters, which is Scorpio to Scorpio, it'll remain the same. The life remains the same. If you go from Pisces water to Scorpio, you're going from that spiritual deep waters to occultic deep waters. Wanting to escape water, to wanting to actually go to the depth of whatever you're trying to escape from. So that is the upper meaning of this transformation. Now, when we look at this, within the context of your marriage or second half of life, especially, let's say, if you talk about the marriage, one will have a lot of psychological, deep-rooted psychological issues come about in their marriage through dealing with the spouse, through dealing with their, their children, family life after marriage. Suddenly they get deep into spirituality, occult, mysticism, psychic premonitions. They suddenly want to experience Kundalini, third eye awakening. Such people can suddenly even wanting to hoard wealth, hidden wealth. But for them, everything happens like this. They burst into happiness, they burst into emotions, they burst into anger. But one thing we see, that this person gets wealth, accumulates abundance of wealth, abundance of knowledge, wisdom, comes to them. They're able to find inspiration through prosperity, through money. For them, money actually helps them understand their deep-rooted issues. They value teachers, counselors, advisors, astrologers. They value and they feel like their teachers becomes their family. So if they find a mentor, they're like, wow, this person is like our family. Of course, they should be like, coming to our home a lot. So they'll try to invite a lot of, spiritual people within their home, very religious people into their home. When it comes to communication, though, they can become very authoritative. Like either it's my way or the highway. When I communicate, I need to have the upper hand in the communication within the marriage. I need to be in the authority in communication. If I'm not, my psychological things will be affected. So remember, every single till will come to the Scorpio ascendant rising. If they are beaten in communication, they will lose their cool. If they're beaten in, skill set, in sports, in some sort of a competition, it'll affect them psychologically. And they're very blunt with their communication within the marriage. And especially the home environment becomes like the 1960s hippie ground. The home will be full with items which are very alien, very unusual. They'll have, like a Christian may have a Buddha in their home. They have a lot of Celtic and pagan symbolisms within their home. Their ability to raise a family, raise their home, becomes something out of the box, something that normally you won't see a lot of families do. Unless, of course, you gather 100 people with Scorpio Navamsha, they will all be like, oh yeah, this is normal. This is how I raise my family. This is how our home is. This is something weird, awkward, will be within the home, which other peoples may not have. Like such people can have 10 cats in their home, where normal people will be like, okay, we have 1 cat or we have no cats. Then their intelligence to deal with any issues within the marriage is excellent. For them, it actually becomes a spiritual task to resolve issues within the marriage, within the confines of relationship. Like Scorpio ascendant in Navamsha can actually have a deep-rooted commitment in the marriage, because they understand the value of commitment. They understand the value of not just walking away just because we had one small fight, just because you yelled at me, screamed at me. Some people may just get divorced in 2 fights in a marriage. Scorpio person can fight 10 times, 20 times. They'll still be like, okay, I have to be rooted into this marriage. I have to use my calmness, my intelligence to see what happened. But again, if there's a planet, in certain houses in your Navamsha, it may either positively affect that or negatively affect that. At the same time, they're very active in their diet, in their daily routines. They always wanted to leave. They always like to move. They always like to drive and go here, go there. For them, activity, daily routines, physical activity is what keeps them sane. So for a Scorpio Navamsha person, it is very important that they exercise, they do yoga, they travel. Like for them, they should not be sitting home. If they're sitting home, they should be doing some sort of a work, some sort of an activity. And especially they should be careful in taking on any kind of a debt, because they're very adventurous. They don't think of the consequences later on. They're like, oh, well, I'll put this on my credit card and I'll go on a vacation to Paris. Fine, I'll see how I pay that off. But when they come back from vacation, now they have to really deal with that issue that, okay, my payment is coming up. Do I pay the whole thing? Do I pay a little bit? If they pay a little bit, it just keeps growing and growing. So they have to deal with that. But especially they have a great support through the spouse. Spouse can really bring about a lot of wealth, a lot of wisdom, creativity, but especially they receive security through spouse because of their unbalanced nature, unbalanced life that they have dealt with. Spouse is the only thing that keeps them anchored into the same world. This is why they are always committed in a relationship. They're like, okay, me being married to this person, I feel sane and I can deal with my hidden emotions. Okay, let me just be sticking to them no matter what. So for Scorpio and Navamsa, whether you're male or female, spouse will provide stability. In a marriage, you will feel secure. Security will be given. And you will have a great, they have great communication with their in-laws and spouse's family. They actually do better with their spouse's family, sometimes with their, even in their own family. But second half of life, they do very well communicating with their own family and spouse's family. It's like they forgive and they forget most of the time. But this is just a foundation level. I mean, you know, certain planetary placements, conjunction may actually devastate a certain one of these things or certain places, certain houses. They are emotionally connected to their spiritual world. They're not very much connected to religion. They reject religion. For them, they want to be emotionally connected to a divine mother. They usually like to worship a female goddess. Like in India, it would be Kali or Durga, Lakshmi, Saraswati. In a Western sense, they may just go for the Virgin Mary or some pagan goddess. And their status is very powerful. When they get married, what people think of them as something regal, royal, somebody who has power. When they see them with their spouse, what people think of you when you walk with your spouse, like, wow, okay, you guys are a power couple. You guys are really have the high royal status, higher respect in society. One gets favored through government. One gets favored through, you know, their bosses, their managers. One attains property. And especially their gains are consistent, very fluid, consistent gains. But it also shows a lot of issues and obstacles through either elder sibling or network circles. Like these people have the hardest time sustaining friends. Friends and elder sibling tend to drain their energy and tend to deplete their even incoming gains. So these people should, if they're more private, away from even having too many friends, they do far better, very well, not having too many friends, because that draining energy comes in. Through friends, through siblings, they may even get into debt. And one has a very balanced approach towards spirituality. One also tends to sometimes overspend. They tend to sometimes overspend, and they definitely love luxury. They love luxury. They want to have the finest things in life. And at the same time, like for such people, they will have the finest things in life, but at the same time, they want to do Kundalini and yoga. For them, they balance it out. They balance out their subconscious world that, okay, I don't really need to be all 100% all about meditation and all about having a sattvic vegan lifestyle. No, I can balance it out sometimes by, having my material fun, having fun on this land. And so, I'm okay. I'm balanced. So that's, the Scorpio Navamsa in a nutshell. But like I said, with this particular Navamsha, the planetary placements are utmost important. Like Scorpio is naturally, becomes that eighth house. So we have to be very careful of what gift does the eighth house has. Does it have a good gift to give? Does it have average gift to give? Does it have malefic gifts to give? And that is all seen through planetary placement. That is also seen through, the nakshatras that planet are placed in the Navamsha. Okay. So guys, this was my analysis of Scorpio Navamsha. If you're new to my channel, subscribe below. And if you want to know where your Scorpio Navamsha is, what Navamsha you have, all the astrology details, check out astrologycares.com. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.